Okay, so if anyone has a question, Judge, just stand up. You could give her a period. Well, I'm going to start. You did reference, Minister, the Ontario, Canada-Ontario immigration agreement is kind of at an impasse right now. And you've also talked about establishing kind of a made-in-Ontario immigration strategy. Can you give us a little bit more insight as to what you envision that looking like and the relationship with the federal government in such a strategy?
So we're talking about what's known as COIA, Canada-Ontario Immigration Agreement, which has lapsed. All the other provinces and territories have an agreement with the federal government in dealing with immigration. Ontario doesn't have that agreement. It's since expired. And as a result, we have been subject to side deals and things of that sort. One of the biggest issues that's facing us now is that the other provinces have more devolution ability. They have what's the provincial nominee program have allowed them in greater numbers to pick and choose skilled immigrants to their respective jurisdictions. And Ontario doesn't have that. In fact, Ontario only has 1,000 that's allotted. Manitoba, I believe, has over 8,000. Alberta has something like 6,000. Quebec has almost their own abilities to pick and choose who comes and goes. What we find is some of these jurisdictions are getting more funding, getting a bit more support, certainly on a per capita basis, much more than Ontario. Keep in mind that Ontario is still the largest province and the largest attraction for newcomers. And the demand for newcomers here is huge. The backlog has grown because instead of dealing with our needs, the other provinces have been receiving their share at a more rapid pace. So what's obvious is we need to be at the table. We need to have recognition of the shared responsibilities that come from the provinces in dealing with immigrations in that respect. And the federal government recognizes that. They call it I think it was Jason Kenney mentioned that it's an open secret that immigrants make their way into Canada around the other provinces in order to get to Ontario. That's got to stop because Ontario deserves its fair share of funding, of support, and our newcomers also deserve more support. And the last thing I want to do is find myself pitted against other provinces on what we need to do as a shared responsibility to promote not only Ontario's immigration needs, but the nation's needs, right? All of Canada. So we got to find a way to make everyone prosper. That's why I put forward this 13-member expert panel to discuss some of the issues. These are people that are dealing with it right now, enabling them to provide me with evidence-based initiatives to show what it is that we need to do so that when I am at the table in regards to immigration, I can put forward a proper strategy that meets the needs of Ontario and of Canada. Because right now, some of the things that are happening at the expense of Ontario and you as taxpayers. Because ultimately, we end up having to pay for some of these programs that people are in need of without the support of the federal government, and that's got to change. Mr.
Minister, does it mean that Ontario cannot have a similar investment sponsorship program for new immigrants and similar to what PEI and New Brunswick have?
Mr. Ho has just come back from China with the Prime Minister, and we should give him a round of applause for all the work he's doing in trying to promote economic prosperity in our country. Sutam is And Mr. Ho was absolutely right. His question was, does this mean that somehow we're having less accommodations as they are in PEI and other provinces to support investment? And some of our provincial nominee programs, there are opportunities to attract some of these high investors, some from China, who want to come and invest in Canada and in Ontario specifically. And because of our allotted amount, we only have a few spaces. So we're trying to improve upon that, recognizing the value that they bring and trying to find ways to get the skilled labor, get the smarts upstairs, those because our competitive advantage in the end is not oil or potash. We don't have that in Ontario. What we have is a strong education system, a strong skilled workforce, and an attraction for alternate sources of manufacturing. And we need those investments from different parts of the world to come to Ontario because we want to be that beacon, that attraction. We can't do that unless we have a proper immigration strategy that outlines what Ontario needs so that we can start being very deliberate in who we're attracted to come to this province. Right now, we are the ones that have the majority of the refugee claimants, the majority of family reunification because we're such a large province. We're doing our part. But we also have now lost on a relative basis the economic immigrants. That we need to. So we got to ensure that we provide the foundations, the programs, the means by which to attract the investment dollars here as well. Be proud though, folks, that Ontario, as a destination for investment, is the greatest in Ontario, in Canada, and only second to California in all of North America. We have more investment coming into this jurisdiction because of lowering our income tax, our business tax, our competitiveness, our skilled labor, our universal health care, some of the investments we're making in infrastructure. All of this has been a recipe for attracting more and more investment because of our green energy initiatives and things of that sort. And it has been shown through some of the reports and designations that Ontario has the highest retention of that investment. So we're succeeding in that capacity. But it's delicate. We got to continue to do more in order to broaden and prosper. And the immigrants who do come to Ontario are, I think the number is around 97 or 94% retention rate. The other provinces are down to around 80% in the high 70s. So people, when they come to Ontario, they want to stay in Ontario. And we know that others that go into other locations also want to come here.